Honorable Men Discord. We have leaked audio of Matt Barnes speaking on Shaq offering money for dirt on Shannon Sharpe. Let's talk about it. What kind of world do we live in? What kind of world do we live in? I blame it on social media. I blame it on these smartphones. These smartphones, um, they're a gift and a curse. You know, they have so many different apps and features. Your cell phone now turns into a recording device. At any moment in time, you could hit record, and you could be having what someone else may be perceive as a private conversation, and you could just be recording them and saving that audio for when you feel like you may have to go to war with that person, or for whatever reason, whatever foul reason you may be recording somebody without their knowledge of you recording. It's almost like it's almost like what I know it's a fictional story, but it's almost like the comic books where the Justice League. And I'm not even well versed with comics, but hear me out here. It's said that Batman always kept Arsenal or kryptonite in case Superman got out of control and he was no longer cooperative in working with the team. That's kind of like, maybe this is a bad analogy, but that's kind of like what's going on in today's day and age. You just never know whether a friend, colleague, spouse, you don't know who's recording you. You don't know who's setting up cameras. This is the world we live in. You know, I'm sure many of you have heard stories about Airbnbs and hidden cameras. You don't know what property you may be renting that has a hidden camera. You don't know who you may be talking to over the phone and they're recording your conversation. Video and audio recordings is becoming the norm. Okay, I don't know if many of you remember, I did an episode a while back on Stephen A. Smith. One of his colleagues at ESPN was recorded speaking about Stephen A. Smith in an unfavorable manner, and someone recorded that conversation. That was a private conversation that was recorded and eventually leaked. Right? Although I don't ever recall Stephen A. Smith speaking on that audio that was leaked, it was leaked. Right? Then most recently, with all that Shannon Sharpe is going through, you know, many of his conversations with the young lady he was dealing with was recorded. In addition to obviously text messages being saved, that's another thing. You know, aside from what I mentioned before, video recordings, audio recordings, text messages are being saved. I think the text messages being saved has been the norm for a very long time. But where am I going with all of this? I'm going with take notice as to where society's going. All right. Now, if you're a stand-up person and you never said anything unfavorable about somebody, then you have nothing to worry about. But the truth is, many of us, at some point in time in our life, because no one is perfect, including myself, at some point in time in life, you might have said something about someone, and the last thing you want is for that to be made public. All right? That's the last thing you want. Because you could feel some way about somebody on one day, and a few days later, say to yourself, you know what, that person's not that bad. Perfect example, there's times where you may interact with someone and you might think you don't like them. Or I should say, before you interact with that person, you may think you don't like them. And then one day, maybe weeks, months later, you have a conversation with that person, you realize that person's pretty cool. And so you no longer feel the way you felt initially about that person. Now imagine if during that time, in between that time, you said something unfavorable about that person and it was recorded. And then someone leaks it out. And now here you are at a different point in time where you're actually cool with that person, having to explain to them, I'm sorry, I said that in the past. I didn't, But that's kind of like what's going on now. And this is why oftentimes I mention to those that are watching this, especially the younger men, you would think that the activity that happens in junior high school, and unfortunately sometimes in college, you would think it would end as you become an older adult with a family. But that's not the case. But let's get into the context as to why Shaq was offering money for dirt on Shannon Sharpe. This is where it started. So let's get into this.
The president of the Big Man Alliance. You are the vice president of the Big Man Alliance. You know I love you. You're the best player in the league. I want to congratulate you, but I want you to hear from me first. I thought the SGA should have been the MVP. That's no disrespect to you, but congratulations.
Thank you, Shaq. We don't judge people here, so that's fine. It's your opinion. I'm joking.
No, hey, all good. I love you. I love your brothers. One thing we always going to do is keep it real with each other. Congratulations. I love you.
No, for real. I think there is a lot of players that deserve it. It's probably details and kind of small things.
So Shaq said that to Jokic when Jokic got the MVP over SGA. And if you don't know who SGA is, that's the point guard for the OKC Thunder. Now, in response to what Shaq said to Jokic, Shannon Sharpe had something to say about those comments, and this is what happened.
Shaq, he might not ever admit this, but Shaq see these guys winning these MVPs and a little envious. Because, and I don't care, look, I understand that Shaq got 4 titles and he has 3 finals MVPs, but Shaq know deep down, we should be having a discussion. For GOAT, Shaq name is never brought up in the discussion. Now, we bring his name up with big mans, with Will, Russell, and Kareem, and rightfully so. But we're never going to see another guy Shaq's size with his athleticism that was as dominant as him.
Yeah.
And he robbed himself because he didn't take it serious enough. Did he take it serious? Not nearly as serious as he should have. Shaq should have 5 MVPs. Shaq should have 7 titles. And I think he sees a guy like Nikola Jokic that's not as dominant as him and gets 3 and 4 years.
Yeah.
And people are talking about him. And they talk about him dominant big man. But see, when you historically great, they talk about you as great basketball player, the GOAT. And Shaq is never brought up. I think
Do you think anything is wrong with what Shannon Sharpe had to say? Is Shannon Sharpe wrong for even speaking on it? My opinion, Shannon Sharpe is not wrong for speaking on it because as a podcaster, as a commentator, it's public information. It's public information to speak on, and he's speaking on Shaq's work ethic when he was a player. The same way Shaq felt that it was okay to speak to Jokic at a time when Jokic just received the MVP award, Shannon Sharpe as a commentator just responded to it. Right? Any of you think that this is a form of gossip or Shannon Sharpe is out of line? Let me know in the comments. For me, Shannon Sharpe is just speaking on something that that is evident. It was evident when Kobe was playing with Shaq. Kobe even addressed Shaq on his lack of dedication and his lack of focus. He wasn't taking his diet serious. So it's nothing that is not known. It's a known fact, So Shannon Sharpe speaking on it, he's just pointing out the fact that he thinks that Shaq is a little bit jealous. I don't know. Again, I think that there was nothing wrong with it because it's speaking on Shaq's game. It's nothing personal. Just it may come across from Shaq's point of view as a personal attack on him, but again, Shaq decided to speak to Jokic about him getting the MVP, saying that he doesn't believe he deserved it, which I don't think he needed to do that on live television, but Shaq did that. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, but let's continue. So Shaq now responded to Shannon Sharpe saying what he said about Shaq, and this is how it went.
Show everyone's family. Okay. Shaq, about the comments that I said last night. Shaq said, "You took me sticking up for Shea as jealousy of Joker shows how smart you are and how you say anything to get clicks." That's not what I did. But anyway, so here's the clickbait for you. If I ain't ranked in the top 10 in your profession, then you can't speak. Don't forget, I know what you did to get where you're at. Me jealous sounds like you jealous. I know you're trying to stay relevant by gossiping on your podcast. We don't believe you. You need more people in case you forgot. 4 rings, 3 finals MVPs, top 50, top 75. And to be quite frank, all the success you got still under me. You don't know my work ethic, but according, I work less, but not blah, blah, blah. But anyway, love you too. If you need help making money, it's better ways than gossiping. I'm too old for this ish. Love always. The most dominating big man ever. Never took it serious. Remember, I know you and you know words of Skip Ocho.
First of all, Shaq sounds super salty in the message he sent to Shannon Sharpe. All right. And I just have to speak on Unc, because Unc said it a little bit off in his reading. He didn't say it correctly. That we don't believe you. You need more people. That's actually a Jay-Z line when he was speaking. That was taken from the Takeover record, where that particular verse, Jay-Z was talking to Prodigy for Mobb Deep. All right, but that's neither here nor there. Shaq sounds completely in his feelings, extremely emotional about someone critiquing him and his game, his career, which again, that's Shannon Sharpe's lane. You know, hate him or love him, Stephen A. Smith does the same thing. I don't understand why it seems as though commentators are not allowed to comment. That's their job. That's what they do for a profession. Anyone disagree, please, I'll see you in the comments. But it just seems like athletes are extremely emotional when it comes to what's said by commentators. And as of late, it seems like those athletes that are feuding with the commentators are from our community. Those athletes that are feuding with the commentators, are from our community. And this is how we're behaving. Right? So, which leads me to the last thing I have queued up, which is the leaked audio of Matt Barnes speaking to someone whom I'm sure Matt Barnes reached out to that person like, why did you leak the audio? Because if I'm having a conversation with another individual and that conversation is leaked, I'm automatically assuming that person has something to do with it, because if it's just a conversation between two people, then I'm calling that person up like, why'd you leak the audio? Now, I don't know if this audio is from a conversation that was had with the group, whether it was over the phone, whether it was in public, whether it was one-on-one. I don't know, but the fact is it was leaked. So let's get into that audio.
I don't know if you're on this kind of time, but I was in a group chat the other day, or actually just yesterday, and Shaq said he's paying top dollar for any information on old boy. So, again, I don't know if you're on that kind of time or not, but Shaq is known to throw large sums of money around, so just want to put that out there. Stay quiet. Hey, he said, please keep it quiet. He said that Shannon did some shit back to him a while back, and he's been off him. So that's why he's doing this. But please keep his name quiet.
To that. Mm-hmm. Have you guys talked? We haven't. Shaq feels the way he feels, and he's perfectly fine to feel that way.
Well, so much for keeping his name quiet. So much for that. Because obviously we're listening to it. I'm covering this. So much for it being a private conversation. But I think it's safe to say Shaq could save his money, because Shannon Sharpe is in his own... He's having his own issues right now. And we already know how that's playing out so far. But what can we learn from this? What we can learn from this is be careful what you say over the phone. Be careful what you say in person, unfortunately. Be careful what you text. Just be careful. Because someone, unbeknownst to you, is recording. Could be a colleague looking to set you up or to save something for later on to use against you, because maybe they're jealous of you and your work performance. It could be a colleague looking to set you up in a confrontation with someone. because they just don't like you, but they're pretending like they like you. You just never know. It's a crazy world we live in, unfortunately. You know, integrity is becoming a thing of the past. At least it seems so. You know, hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully I'm wrong. I want to be wrong on this, but it just seems like we're living in a world where everyone's looking for an opportunity to get paid by any means, whether it's for leaked audio to TMZ, because you know TMZ is paying for footage, pictures, and all that type of stuff. So I don't know what's going on with this world. I don't know where it's heading, but it's not heading in a positive direction, unfortunately. And if you disagree with anything I'm saying in regards to the direction the world's heading, I'll see you in the comments and we could discuss it. But I don't know what this is all about. Shaq is too grown, too successful to even at that point, which that was a few years ago when Jokic won the MVP, right? Less than 5 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And Shaq was well off at that point in time. So to be investing time and money, potentially money, into digging up dirt on Shannon Sharpe because you didn't like the comments he said about your work ethic when you were a player is just, to me, ridiculous. And again, unfortunately, these are examples of some people from our community and how they're behaving even when they're successful. The back and forth rhetoric is just... Listen, anyone disagree with anything that I said in this episode, I'll see you in the comments. I, for the life of me, cannot imagine myself being successful worrying about digging up dirt on somebody else. If anything, I'm happy you're successful because I'm successful and I don't have to like you. We can coexist. You know, I'll be somewhere on an island shooting more episodes, kicking my feet up, and I'm good. I really wouldn't have time for worrying about somebody making comments on me. But I was never in that position, so, you know, who knows? But I would like to think I would be better than... I'd make better decisions than that. But that's all I have for today. Again, I'll see anyone in the comments who wants to discuss this further. I appreciate all of you for tuning in. As always, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.